So I know this video is well over a week late. I have no excuse. This semester of college is way more brutal than I thought it was going to be, so I have had hardly any time to read. I am going to be doing my Diversathon wrap-up today, but 2 out of the 3 books that I read were for class, and they just barely fit the description for Diversathon. I was not able to get through Homegoing, the group book. I was not able to read any books on my TBR except for one of them. I think I'm only on like a 4-book per month schedule now, whereas I used to be like 10 books a month, so definitely a lot less time to do the fun stuff. But I did want to tell you about the books that I read during that week. Let's go. So the first book that I intended on finishing was July's People by Nadine Gordimer. This book I was reading for my world literature class, and this book takes place in South Africa. It follows a white family that used to live in Johannesburg, and then there were attacks. It takes place right after apartheid is coming to a close, and so they're just hiding from people that are ravaging the city. And so to hide from all of that action, they go and stay with their servant's family, and he lives in a very rural area in a clan village type situation. It deals a lot with the power struggles between them and their servant and having to figure out white privilege and the hypocrisy in that. I was not a fan of this book. There's just something about the colonialism aspect of it. I don't know. I just find that part of it really boring, and this book is really complicated to read because there's no speaker tags, and a lot of the imagery is just unclear, and the timeline skips back and forth and you don't know what you're reading. I had to get this on audiobook to even understand it, so it was just rough to have to get through. But I feel like this is one of those books where you could go back and reread it and understand it a lot more. So I think having come out of it knowing the symbolism of all the different things and knowing what happens and having like a better grasp of who's who and like the character dynamics, then I can understand who's speaking all the time. So maybe that would be more beneficial next time I reread it, because there is a lot of good imagery in this. I know I said earlier that there was really confusing imagery, but there are some lines in this that are truly gorgeous and haunting. I just couldn't connect to the book, and it was difficult to understand, so there was a lot of trouble staying on the same page. I ended up giving this book 2 stars. The next book I read was Golden Boy by Abigail Tartellin. This book follows a main character named Max who is intersex, which means he was born with ambiguous genitalia, and his parents could have decided his gender for him or let him grow up and decide who he wanted to identify as. Clearly I've been calling him a he, so he chose to identify as male. I don't want to spoil it by saying what happens to get the book going, but he re-encounters a childhood friend, and may I just say, trigger warning, rape. So that's where that book sets off, and it talks a lot about gender identity and stereotyping, even just intersex lifestyles. It goes into that, and you see from a first-person perspective all of these facets about gender that I have never considered in my life. So this book was just incredible. It was such a learning experience. It was so emotional. I loved this book. I gave it 5 stars. Max was an incredible character. I just loved hearing his perspective of everything. The way that his parents fit into the storyline about like having to decide his gender or not, it was just so intricate. Like there's this issue that he's having within himself, trying to decide who he is and if he made the right decision, all this stuff about gender. But then there's also pressure from his parents, pressure from society. He's like a popular person at school. Everyone loves him. No one knows that he's intersex, and so it's just this self-consciousness issue that he has to work through the entire book and understand how he feels about himself, and it was such an excellently done story. I highly recommend it. I looked up an interview with Abigail, the author, and she is incredibly intelligent. She is so on top of topics like feminism and LGBT rights, and I will continue to support her for forever. I put her other book on my wish list because I need anything she has written. This book was a masterpiece. I learned so much from it, and it was just such a great addition to my TBR. Definitely one of my new favorites of all time. The next book I read, which I haven't even finished, I started Disgrace by J.M. Coetzee. This book also takes place in South Africa. It's again for class, and this one follows a white character, which I did not know because I thought homeboy on the cover was black, so I assumed this fit for Diversathon, but I mean, if it's set in South Africa, I'm considering it as a book because I vlogged about it. But this book follows a man who gets fired from his job at a university in South Africa, and so he goes to live with his daughter. It's really hard to describe this book without spoiling it because it's very character-based. It's very driven by inner conflict within the main character. But I will say, once again, trigger warning for rape in this book. It deals with a lot of dark conflicts, and I'm actually really enjoying this book so far. The main character author is just so intense and there's so many layers to him that it's very interesting to read about. I've underlined many passages in this that I just think are astounding and it's so well written. I'm definitely going to be buying a copy of this for myself on my own shelf. I can't say what I've rated this or if it's like the best thing in the world because I haven't read the last half of it, but so far I am really devouring this and it's very interesting. Update, I gave the book 5 stars. It's one of my favorites of the year even though the ending was slightly anticlimactic. It was really good. Buy it, read it, enjoy it. Literally, this lipstick on my tooth, the death of me. And another book I started but did not finish was Citizen by Claudia Rankine. This is a book of prose and pictures that has to deal with race in America. For example, one of the major passages in here was just a description of Serena Williams, the tennis player, and it talks about the little microaggressions and racism that she has to deal with within that profession, and it's just a study of racism in America. I am not very far in this. I am 41 pages into it, but I'm having trouble connecting with it. A lot of the poems are written in second person, so it's like you're walking down the street, you're doing this, you see this happening, and it's harder to connect to it like that. Something about that is just not my favorite. Maybe I'll enjoy some of the passages in the future more, but things I've read so far I'm not too impressed by, which kind of makes me sad because I figured this would be a really good book. But I'm realizing I'm kind of picky about my poetry and stuff that I read because I like things to be short and pack a punch. It's informative and I appreciate it for that, but nothing about it has really blown me out of the water yet. So hopefully when I finish this, I'll at least be able to say I enjoyed a couple of these passages. But right now, the pictures are what's getting me more than the actual writing. I attempted to read a couple of books that I didn't get very far into. I'm not going to show those because I read like 2 pages of them, but overall I didn't really have a successful week. Like I said, college is rough this semester. I don't know how I'm gonna live next semester when I have my internship that I have to be like 8 hours a week for. I'm already doing better than I was last semester with time management, but still, this English class is killing me. We read a book a week. I have to finish that book before Monday and start half of a new book for Wednesday, so it's fine. Just kill me. And I'm also trying to read Empire of Storms right now, and I'm also trying to finish up books I've read for Diversathon right now. Life is crazy, man. I have like over 100 books on my TBR too. So thank you to anyone who's participated in Diversathon. I'm so sorry that I was absent for a lot of the Twitter chats, and the last vlog you saw was like a week late. What can I say? College. Thanks everyone for watching. Goodbye!